I know this is a sensitive topic, but it needs to be talked about. I've heard so many fellow chronic illness patients complain that doctors don't take them seriously, that nurses don't treat them right. I've even heard some Jewish patients blame it on anti-Semitism. And I want to talk about my experience and what I've learned. And it's actually very simple. I got sick 14 years ago, so I have a vast amount of experience of dealing with all kinds of doctors, nurses, nurse practitioners, all religions, all backgrounds, everything. And first, when it comes to anti-Semitism, I really want to caution against using that word because it is, I'm not going to say impossible, nothing in this world is impossible, but it is so highly unlikely that a medical professional would ever be anti-Semitic because they could literally lose their license. And I've actually had the opposite experience where most of them love to tell me how much they love the Jews and how much they respect us, and they ask questions about my culture. They really want to understand. So we can call it what it is. They were rude or whatever, which we're going to get to in a minute, but let's not use the word anti-Semitism loosely at all, in general in life, by the way. Now, when it comes to doctors not taking us seriously, when it comes to nurses not treating us right, all those things. Now, there's exceptions to every rule. There's always going to be that rotten apple here and there, which I've had in my experience too. But for the most part, if you find yourself constantly coming across doctors who don't take you seriously, if you find yourself constantly having nurses who mistreat you, you need to ask yourself one question. Why is that happening for me? What is going on internally for me? The world is a mirror. The way we're treated is a direct reflection of what's going on internally for us. I talked a lot about how last year my doctors were not taking me seriously enough. And the minute I asked myself that question, the minute I looked inward, I realized I didn't trust myself. I had work to do. I needed to learn to trust myself. And you know what? The minute I did, everything changed. Thankfully, I really mostly only come across nurses who are exceptional. Really treated me, they've treated me so well. But they've told me it's a mirror. So if you find yourself constantly having nurses who don't treat you right, what kind of vibe do you give off? What's your attitude towards them? Do you recognize that they're human beings? They work so hard. They really do. They really care. Or do you, and I know this is sometimes it's very hard to remember when, the hospital, I always say, is an alternate universe. So it's very hard to remember that these nurses are human beings and not just robots. But it's very important to remember that they're human beings and treat them that way. Give them love. We're the love we give, not the love we get. So the bottom line is, in general in life, honestly, if we see that we're being treated a certain way by people, it's an opportunity for us to look inward and be like, which part of me needs healing? Why am I being treated this way? What within me needs healing? I think the biggest key to failure is to blame things on other people and say, oh my gosh, nurses are terrible, doctors are horrible people. They need to change, the system needs to change. The biggest key to success is looking inward. How does that make me feel? What am I going to do about that? What am I going to do about that? If once in a while you come across a nurse who's really rude, what am I going to do about that? I'm not going to fix that nurse. I'm not going to change her. What am I going to do? I'm going to advocate, speak up for myself. Now, if it happens repeatedly, hey, what am I going to do about that? I hope this helps.